To say, decir, emitir sonidos inteligibles. When I first came to Spain, it was very difficult for me to understand what people were saying. I didn't speak any Spanish, so I had to listen very carefully to try to understand what they were saying to me. Having knowledge of French, I could often understand the main points of what people were saying when they spoke slowly. But when they spoke quickly, I didn't understand much of anything. I remember once in 2003 trying to find the Vaughan radio office, which was located in a primarily residential part of the city. I tried to ask a man for directions, but it was difficult for him to understand what I was saying. Fortunately, Spanish people are generally very friendly and helpful, and I found my way. They say that practice makes perfect, and that is definitely true when it comes to developing comprehension skills. It's a simple but true concept that the more you listen to a language, the more you'll be able to understand what people are saying. Number 1.
Di tu nombre.
Say your name. Number 2.
Ella me dio los buenos días.
She said good morning to me. Number 3.
Él no dijo por qué lo hizo.
He didn't say why he did it. Number 4.
¿Qué dicen tus padres?
What do your parents say? Number 5.
Di la palabra mágica.
Say the magic word. Interrogative challenge. Number 1. He said he was tired. What did he say? Number 2. My mother said it. Who said it? Number 3. The priest will say the prayer. Who will say the prayer? Number 4. I was going to say that the machine was broken. What were you going to say? Number 5. I'll say I'm sorry when it's over. When will you say you're sorry? To tell. Uso uno. Decir. Contar. I learned from a young age that it's best to tell the truth. My father always told me the importance of being honest. He told me not to tell lies, and always said that honesty is the best policy. I've always taken that as one of the most important rules to live by. Storytelling is a great skill, and I've never met anyone who didn't like a good story. Stories have been told in every culture as a means of entertainment, education, and cultural preservation. It's even considered an art form. I don't consider myself a great storyteller, but I often tell stories on the radio. People seem to be more interested in hearing real stories than fictitious stories. Most of the feedback I get from listeners of my radio program is in response to either real stories I've told or opinions I've given on historical events. I can assure you that the stories I tell in this book are all true as well. In addition to stories on the radio, I like to tell people what I'm working on. or tell them about new products that might be helpful to them. Translation Challenge. Number 1.
Dime tu nombre.
Tell me your name. Number 2.
Nunca he dicho una mentira.
I've never told a lie. Number 3.
Dile qué decir.
Tell him what to say. Number 4.
Nos dijeron que nos diéramos prisa.
They told us to hurry up. Number 5.
Les dije que me esperaran.
I told them to wait for me. Interrogative challenge. Number 1. She told me the news after supper. When did she tell you the news? Number 2. He didn't tell the truth because he's a liar. Why didn't he tell the truth? Number 3. I didn't tell you because I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me? Number 4. I'm going to tell them respectfully. How are you going to tell them? Number 5. She wouldn't tell them because they were too young. Why wouldn't she tell them? 2. Distinguir, diferenciar. To tell. Uso 2. Distinguir, diferenciar. Despite each having their secret recipes, both Coca-Cola and Pepsi taste differently depending on where you buy them. One thing that really helps you tell the difference between Coke from North America and Coke from Europe or even Mexico is the sweetener that is used. In the US and Canada, the drinks are sweetened with high fructose corn syrup, whereas sugar is used in Europe as well as Mexico. You can really tell the difference. Coke and Pepsi switched to high fructose corn syrup in the 90s, but most consumers have no problem telling the difference and greatly prefer the taste of sugar. In the United States, many stores have started importing Mexican Coca-Cola as consumers will pay a premium for the sugary flavor served from the old-fashioned glass bottle. Pepsi has recently launched a product called Throwback Pepsi, which uses sugar and is sold in retro packaging. Consumers can really tell the difference, and the product has been selling well. Translation Challenge. Number 1.
No distingo a los dos gemelos.
I can't tell the two twins apart. Number 2.
¿Cómo sabes que estoy cansado? Lo noto.
How do you know I'm tired? I can tell. Number 3.
Sé por el estilo que esto fue escrito por Nancy.
I can tell by the style that this was written by Nancy. Number 4.
¿Cómo sabes el sexo de una langosta?
How can you tell the sex of a lobster? Number 5.
Es imposible calcular su edad, de él.
It's impossible to tell how old he is. Interrogative challenge. Number 1. Only Susan can tell what he's saying. Who can tell what he's saying? Number 2. I can't tell them apart because they look identical. Why can't you tell them apart? Number 3. No one could tell what he wrote. Who could tell what he wrote? Number 4. His accent made it so difficult to tell what he was saying. What made it so difficult to tell what he was saying? Number 5. No, I can't tell when he's angry. Can you tell when he's angry? Un poco más sobre say and tell. We have to be careful with the difference between say and tell. Los dos significan decir. But we have to remember, we say something to someone. On the other hand, you tell someone something. So remember, we never put an indirect object after the verb to say. Directly before object pronouns, me, you, him, her, us, them, we always use the verb to tell. Es decir, nunca decimos say Tom, sino tell Tom, tell the lady, tell me, tell him, tell her, tell us, tell them. On the other hand, we say specific things like to say good night, di buenas noches, di adiós, say goodbye, di algo, say something, di tu nombre, say your name, di lo que puedas, say what you can. In general, these are the rules that we have to follow. We tell someone something, and we say something to someone. There's a lot more I could say about these two verbs, but keeping these simple rules in mind, I expect you'll be able to tell the difference about 98% of the time.